folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, thanks and welcome to another podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys as an audience for always tuning in. Be sure to refer the podcast to your friends, neighbors, relatives, all that good stuff. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button so you get all the notifications of all the new podcasts we have coming out on the Chris Voss Show. Be sure to go to iTunes, Google Play, and the TuneIn app. And of course, you can find us on a lot of different podcast apps across the interwebs. I'm joined today by a super interesting guest. He's done a multitude of different things in his life. Josh Elledge. He's the Chief Executive Angel. I have an angel on the show of amzn.to. He's been on TV more than 2,000 times in 100 different cities. He's owned a newspaper. He writes a syndicated column to 1.1 million readers. And he's created more than $8 million in free advertising for his company. He has taught tens of thousands of entrepreneurs how to do the same thing as well. Welcome to the show, Josh. How are you today?
Chris, it's awesome to be here.
Cool. As we go through this, give us your plugs so people can look you up on the inner tubes there.
Yeah, well, you could simply Google me, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of really interesting stuff. Or really, you could just go to upmyinfluence.com, where we do a lot of service to for other entrepreneurs and other growth stage startups. We do a lot of, basically, we have a mission. We fundamentally believe that every entrepreneur has a message that can positively impact the world. So we're here to be in service of that movement. And so, like I said, there's a lot of free stuff on our site, including a free $1,200 video course that you're welcome to do. There's no charge. We believe that, when you help a lot of other people get what they want, good things happen.
And I know a lot of people that listen in our audience, people that I interact with, influencers, people in social media, people who want to become more powerful influencers in their marketplace. They're constantly searching for, how do I break out? How do I get to the next level? How do I get more people to hear me? How do I build a bigger audience? It sounds like a lot of your systems or different services circulate around that.
Yeah, we know exactly what to do.
Cool. So, is the main thrust of what you're doing the influencer thing, or I noticed you have the Angels the Angels website there.
Yeah, so savings. So it's I'm one of the unfortunate few who have multiple companies, which I don't necessarily wish on anyone because it can kind of really pull you in a lot of different directions. But that's where I am. Savings Angel is my first company that I started 12 years ago. So it's lots of savings, oneangel.com. And so what we do is we started by helping consumers cut their grocery bill in half, and really have evolved into becoming the guy. And this is who I designed. I designed this persona who can help you get deals, hookups, or upgrades on anything in life. It's just part of my personality. Like, I love getting free stuff. I love getting special treatment. I love getting upgrades to first class. So I've learned the language and the techniques that you need to do so that you can get all of that. So as you can imagine, that's been kind of a popular topic. And so I've been invited into the media a lot while in the course of sharing that. So part of Savings Angel, as well as I'm a podcaster locally here in Orlando. I've been on TV over 600 times alone. And then I also do syndicated TV, primarily again, focusing on the consumables, the things that you buy on a regular basis. Groceries we've had a membership-based website at Savings Angel, which we recently shut down. What that really was we databased everything that all of the grocery stores were doing, and then we databased all of the available discounts that you can stack on top of it, and you can get your groceries for pennies on the dollar. So for many, many years, I fed my family of five, for about $300 a month, and we ate like royalty.
$300 a month? Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, for reals.
I think I'm a family of one and a dog, and I think I spent more than that. Yeah. Holy crap.
So it's all about, and the thing with groceries, we'll just talk about for a second. So here's the deal on food. The price of food, for whatever reason, fluctuates so wildly, just because manufacturers and retailers are so competitive that they want you to try their product, and they're willing to give it away for free in some cases. So it's kind of like, if you know how to work the system, you can really make out like a bandit. So I'm sure like you're familiar with extreme couponers, and by no means am I talking about, having to turn your life upside down and live that kind of a lifestyle. But at the very least, if you could take advantage of loss leaders, which grocery stores are notorious for. They usually put them on the front cover of their ad. Here in the Southeast, Publix is a really popular chain that we shop at. And so if all you did was get ones would comment at Publix, already you're doing pretty well on your grocery bill. That alone will save you about 20 to 30% off your grocery bill. If you find a few coupons, you search a free coupon database, or you just look online and see what you can find there, you could save additional money on top of that. It's actually not that hard, and you don't have to be an extreme couponer to save, to cut a grocery bill maybe from, $800 a month down to $400.
Wow. That's a lot of money. I went for about a year where I let my Costco and my Sam's Club things lap for bulk. And I was just buying locally at the store. And then I just recently barely got the memberships again. And it's such a difference in the price of food for what you pay.
Well, so I'll tell you that we've done a lot of research on warehouse clubs, and warehouse clubs, and I'll tell you, Chris, people fight me on this so hard because they're so convinced that warehouse clubs are the key to massive savings. Warehouse clubs are masterful at getting us to believe we're not spending as much money as we actually are. But how easy is it to escape the doors of a warehouse club and spend less than $150? Now, it may look like you have big boxes of stuff, but it's all about your unit pricing. And when we did our due diligence and a lot of research on per unit pricing, we found that the regular Costco or regular Sam's Club prices are really not that great. Here's what happens. Because you're buying things in large quantities, you're not used to being able to compare a giant box like this versus a 6-pack of something like this. So it's really hard to do the math in your head. But again, if you take the time and you do your per unit pricing, now, I believe that shelf price, so there's a couple different types of grocery retailers out there. There are high-low retailers, and then there are kind of the always low price retailers. Now, some are better than others. Walmart's okay. Aldi, a little bit better than Walmart in our experience. But the absolute best way that you could feed your family is shopping at a high-low store and buying when they put something absolutely deep discount to get you through the front door. But I want to make sure that that's all you buy. So if you're a lazy shopper, then go to Walmart, Aldi, or the warehouse clubs if you're lazy. But if you don't mind doing a little bit of competitive shopping and just being aware of what you're buying and only buy the absolute best deals, by a landslide, it's significantly less money if you do that. So does that make sense? Again, if your local grocery chain puts chicken breast on sale at half price, you better be loading up the freezer. That's just common sense. Boxes of cereal, your favorite cereal goes on sale at half price and you find a $1 coupon and now you're getting Cheerios for 50 cents a box. How many do you think you should buy? Well, you should buy as many as that you can comfortably use in the next 3 to 6 months. So, and again, people love to fight me on the warehouse club thing, but I'm just telling you, we've done a lot of research on it, and you can search my blog and you can see the actual numbers. I
was looking at your guys' website, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like you have a good centralized database.
Yes. And let me tell you, that's 10 years of of my team and I really digging into what is the lowest cost way of doing certain. And it's not about lowest cost. It's about how do you get the most value. So I don't want to live a cheap, miserly life. I want to live an abundant life. Like I want to be able to get the best stuff, but I don't want to pay a lot for it. So if I can get all brand name foods and I can get them at way less than the generic store prices, I'm going to do it. Especially if I can get into the cycle. You have to understand that high-low stores, like your typical grocery retailers, put items on sale on average about every 13 weeks. So if you know that, this is the week where I can get my dog right now, he eats Crave dog food. And that's good stuff, man. It's normally $10 a bag. But right now, inside of every bag is a $5 coupon, and every 13 weeks, Publix puts it on sale for buy one, get one. So what does that mean? $10 down to $5 a piece because it's buy one, get one. $5 coupon inside. I just save up all the coupons, bring them in. I just got 8 bags of dog food, and that's $80 worth of dog food absolutely free. Who wouldn't do that? So again, it's being aware of what the savings opportunities are, and then just getting good at it. And it's a skill that you can learn that can pay you a lot. That $80 in free dog food now, that takes me an extra 5-10 minutes. So that's a good use of my time.
You can buy me another dog for that. Yeah, I don't think.
I can buy a whole nother dog. That's right. Well, look, we don't judge whatever. We don't judge whatever people want to do with all their savings. You know, with great power comes great responsibility and all that. But yeah, you want to load up the house with doggies and feed them free dog food. That's your prerogative. Sounds like a fun life, quite frankly.
So I guess they need to quit throwing away those things that come in the mail from the coupons from all the local stores. Is that
yeah, maybe, right? Okay. So what I don't want people to do is go out and buy stuff that you're never going to use or buy stuff that you hate. Really, I think anytime you see a discount opportunity, take the 30 seconds, take the 60 seconds, take the 2 minutes and flip through it. Maybe there's a coupon where you can get your hair cut at Great Clips and it costs you $5.99 instead of $20 or something, whatever their normal price is. Should you take the extra 30 seconds and look? Yeah, absolutely. But if you look through there and you're like, I don't buy any of this stuff, throw it away, recycle it. You don't need to do that. I don't want to convince people to buy stuff that they don't need or don't want. I certainly don't want them to fill their garage filled with toothpaste or mustard like you saw in extreme couponing. It has nothing to do with that. But it's about increasing your abundance so that you can now have more than you need so that you can give to other people. Because giving is awesome. That's a great, great feeling.
Yeah. What about if you're vegan? If you're trying to stick to live foods, produce, of sort of vegan lifestyle, like
absolutely.
For instance, I do about 50% of that. I lost about 70 pounds going vegan.
Dude,
and I'm not a full-time vegan, but I try and eat live foods. I try and eat fresh produce. I stay out of the evil aisles with the dead foods as much as I can. Okay. How about that?
Yeah. So I was, and in fact, it was about 6 years ago, I was about 95% vegan for about 10 months. And I'll tell you exactly what you do, is that you really concentrate your savings on things like cleaning supplies, paper products, and when it comes to, we could talk about this is an interesting subject, and I've done a lot of research on this, is how to get the best deals on more plant-based food. Now, I think all of us would probably argue that fresh produce directly from the garden, or picked locally, sourced locally, eaten locally, like that's the best way to get produce. That is not the reality of the average American grocery store. The average American grocery store has produce year round. You want tomatoes in December or July? No problem. You can have tomatoes anytime you want. Now, here's the thing. They can come from all sorts of places all over the world. Now, how through the marvel of modern shipping and food manufacturing does that happen? Well, it's a process. So what they do is, let's say your tomatoes or your produce comes from South America, which is very common. It's picked very, very early in the ripening season. It's sprayed with ethylene gases, sprayed with a lot of other stuff. Then it's transported halfway across the world, and it arrives at your grocery store, where again, it's treated so now that it can start ripening up again. So what ends up happening is your produce is really, it has the look of a tomato. It has the taste of not really a tomato, and it certainly doesn't have the nutrient spectrum that a fresh, locally picked tomato would have. Like a garden tomato just tastes so much different than, you know, some plum tomato that was picked in Brazil. I'm sorry, it's just the reality. So what can we do so that we can give ourselves the best healthy foods for our family? Well, I'll tell you that there's two areas that I don't want you to discount as much as you might be discounting, and that is the frozen food section and the canned food section. Frozen, those aisles, you can get massive savings. Okay, if it's in the frozen food section, you want chopped broccoli or whatever. I have gotten Bird's Eye and all the other brands that sell frozen produce. I've gotten those for free. I've gotten free vegetables in the frozen food section. Now, you might be saying, but wait a minute, Josh, I heard that when you flash freeze food, it loses its nutrients. Now, I'll have to tell you that when you compare, here's what happens. Produce that is frozen is not picked until it's much further along in the ripening season. So they don't want to pick a tomato until it's as big as it's going to get. And so then what happens is they say, this is a gigantic tomato. It's got its full spectrum of nutrients. Then they prepare it, throw it in the can, throw it in the bag, put it in the frozen food section. According to the USDA, and I've done a lot of reading on this, is that it's much healthier to get produce that is you'll find in the frozen food section, and flash freezing food actually has very little to no impact on the nutrition quality of those products that you buy in the frozen food section. So what do I want you to do? I want you to load up your freezer with lots of vegetables. Preparation wise, are you limited on some things you could do? Absolutely. But if your goal is to get as much produce in your body as possible and do it on a budget, that's the way that you do it.
Yeah, you're right about a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize, where they, like you say, they use methane gas to accelerate the ripening process. I think it's on tomatoes. They use it a lot. One of my biggest problems, especially during the winters or this time of year, is I'll buy a package of tomatoes, and in the middle and the bottom, they'll be going bad, and they literally will go bad within a day or two of me bringing them home. And
so this is another advantage of frozen foods, is that your chances. One thing that just it pains me is the amount of food that spoils throughout the world, particularly in the United States. And you know what? I commonly screw this up. Like something gets, at the bottom of the produce drawer in the refrigerator, and I pull it out. I'm like, crap, man, we had cucumbers, and I pull them out and they're all soggy. And then it's just, you got to throw them away. You could be creative if you can, but it's really too bad. What I have found is that, again, if you get the majority of your fruits and vegetables, again, I know you're limited on what you can do with them, but if you again, it's about increasing the percentage of your diet with produce. I really feel like a frozen food strategy is really going to help you maximize your budget, reduce spoilage. Food kept in the freezer, I'll just tell you, if it's kept at 0 degrees temperature, according to the USDA, it's safe forever. Now, the quality might degrade a little bit as it dehydrates, but generally, you could keep it in the freezer a long time.
Yeah, and like I say, I end up having to throw away a lot of produce because it does go bad. Tomatoes are my worst thing.
It happens.
Trying to keep tomatoes from going bad. is just insane for me. I've kind of learned recently that I need to buy the tomatoes on the vine where the vine's still attached to them.
Yeah.
And that seems to lengthen how long they will stay stable on my thing. But
Sure.
you know, where I live in Las Vegas and the air is very dry here and it's warm a lot of the times, the tomatoes just don't last very well and they don't grow very well.
I believe it. I believe it. So another thing you could do, of course, is if this is a produce item that you could, in theory, find in the frozen food section, then you can freeze it. So that's how you know, oh, can I freeze onions? Yep, you can freeze onions. Can I freeze this bell pepper here? You sure can. Just chop it up, throw it in a bag, and boom, you don't have to throw it away now. Which, again, that's a smart strategy. You're paying more for frozen produce, but it's better to do that than it is to throw it away. Food waste where you get nothing out of it, that just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're throwing stuff away. That's one of the reasons I quit doing the Costco Sam's Club for a while, because I was buying in bulk, and little old me, I don't consume food fast enough to sometimes, stuff goes bad, you throw it away, and you're like, well, I really didn't save that much as it was buying bulk.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the weight loss too. I've lost 50 pounds myself, and I know what a difference it makes in overall lifestyle. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. It's a tough row, but you start learning that a lot of our food has a lot of poison and a lot of crap and sugar and all sorts of bad stuff in it. And when you start eating fresh, live foods, it really makes a difference in the quality of your life and the quality of your health. And your body thanks you for it. It goes, thanks, man. I was downing at one point, I think 10 to 15 Mountain Dews a day, drinking like a fish at night. And then just eating just the worst food, the Stofers, the TV dinner meals. I just eating the worst of the worst. And once I quit all that stuff cold turkey and started eating live vegan foods, I was losing 2 to 3 pounds a day.
Congratulations.
So much of that sugar-filled, crap-filled, garbage-filled, fake food was just killing me. It makes a difference. I think in our basis, we're plant eaters in our basic DNA, and getting back to eating good plants. Now, I'm not a full-on vegan. I will eat meat. I had eggs and sausages this morning. I usually do every morning. But the rest of the day, I try and stick to vegan foods, broccoli. I try and always stick to live foods. But it's good to know that there's ways to save money on that and try and make that even work. One of the things I do love about going vegan is it's so much cheaper than buying some of the other foods that are out there when it comes to produce and stuff.
Yeah, you can make it work for sure.
Yeah, I was amazed. I'm like, this is not only I'm losing weight, but I'm also saving a ton of money. I normally pay. So let's talk about your other business, the influence business. Do you want to share with us any tips that people can take a look at on your website that on how to expand your audience, how to get more influence, how to get on TV more, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, absolutely. So again, shifting gears. So my other company is upmyinfluence.com. I essentially took what I learned with Savings Angel and, all of our media that we were able to get. And I thought, man, if other people knew how to do what I did. And I'll tell you how I learned it is that I was a journalist in the United States Navy for 5 years. And then I owned a small town newspaper for a year, just always stayed really involved in media. So when I launched Savings Angel, I'll be honest, I was pretty broke. I had no money, but I had a great idea, I thought. But there are so many great ideas out there. The real challenge here is that in order for any business to succeed, exposure is everything. And if you've got access to be able to serve, if you can get in front of audiences then you can do quite well, particularly if you enjoy serving those audiences. And I did. So with Savings Angel, I really just kind of took my media savvy and I approached radio stations and TV stations and newspapers and ad magazines, anyone I could. And I said, look, I don't have any money, but maybe I could be of service to your audience. Here's what I'd love to do. Here's the content that we're producing right now. I'd love to make this available to your audience for free. And enough of them said yes that I started getting more and more media. My local started with a local Christian broadcaster that turned into working with Clear Channel over in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then that turned into syndicated radio, TV. I started working with local TV stations in Grand Rapids. Then I got invited to do TV in Chicago, then national TV. And then, with the newspaper, I got featured in the newspaper. Then I offered to write a once a month column in the newspaper, and that turned into a weekly column. And then that turned into a weekly syndicated column, which I've been doing for 8 years. So,
wow, that's pretty awesome. That'll give you a lot of exposure, getting a national syndication.
Yes, it does. And I'm really, really grateful for the work that we're able to do. And so with Up My Influence, I really just started about 4 or 5 years ago, just doing pro bono work. I believe that, when you're blessed with success, you have a moral obligation, I think, to serve other people. And so I just started working pro bono in our local startup community. My family and I moved to Orlando, and they started, the startups I was helping started having a lot of success with what I was teaching. And some of them asked if they could pay me. They're like, this you could like, yeah, sure. I'm not going to turn down money, I suppose. And so I ultimately created a video course that I've since made that free because I believe in democratization of these skills. I think for far too long, PR has been a little bit of a country club. And if you have a lot of money, then you can pay for introductions. And I just don't think that that's necessary anymore. With social media, really very few people are more than a few tweets away from you. And so if you just know what the rules of engagement are, and this is really important, you have the authority to, when they say, well, who is this that's messaging me? Oh, okay. So this is someone that's actually pretty important. I'm going to take the time and engage with them. Okay, so that's what I really want to hammer on is authority. So you've got authority and you've got influence, and both of these things are a currency. And if you have a lot of authority, and let's say I had a magic wand here, and I said, "All right, Chris, I just waved my magic wand, and poof, you have now 10 times more authority in your space than you did yesterday." When you wake up in the morning, tomorrow morning, how do you imagine your business is going to be maybe a little bit different? People are probably going to approach you proactively much more often. When you reach out to somebody, you're probably going to feel like you just have like the magic touch because everybody says yes to you. Well, why is everybody saying yes to you? It's because they respect who you are. And you have indicators of authority online that communicate just exactly what your level of expertise is and what the level of respect is that you deserve. And can you work on those things? Can you improve those things? Absolutely. That's what we do. And so really the areas I think that anybody watching this right now should focus on would be, number one, your own website. And, if your website looks like you're just a solo practitioner and you don't have much going on, and your website hasn't been updated for 3 years and it wasn't professionally designed, what I'm saying, some people are going to take offense to, but it's just the reality. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say, and I've got a couple of other things I'll point out here in just a second, things that you want to improve, but your investment in your website, you will attract the level of clients, and there's a strong correlation between their income level and the perceived income level and success of your business, as illustrated by the design of your website. If your website sucks, I'm sorry, they're just not going to respond to your emails. And that gets to what I call the email test. So you get an email. You don't know who the person is. And you're like, okay, look, I'm extremely busy. I can't answer every single person who emails me. So I'm going to look for some cues. I need some, so, it's like poker tells, right? So like, is he holding an ace? Yeah, I just noticed something in his eyes. He's really excited. Something's going on, right? That's the kind of stuff that we look for. So generally, like someone will email me and I'll give them like 15, 30 seconds. And if they don't appear like they've got it really going on, then I just, and again, this sounds so superficial, but we all do it because everyone has learned to be extremely protective of their time because we're bombarded with offers and we can't. We're not like the, Jim Carrey, the yes man. You can't say yes to everything. You have to protect your time. And so what you'll do, and I do it, you do it, everybody does it, is you look at the email, you look at the content of the email. Did the content seem professional? Yes. Okay. Well, who is this? By the way, if at any point you get a no, it's over. And here's the thing. People are not going to tell you why they don't respond to your email. Like someone just is totally like, I think I even know who the person is, but they just sent me the most spammy email. And I'm like, really? Really? Like at first I was thinking about responding back and letting them know, kind of where they kind of erred in their ways. But I'm like, dude, I don't have time for that. So I just deleted it. And, that's what everyone's doing to you right now. So when you get radio silence, you get crickets. That's why. All right. So when you get an email, it goes into one of four categories. A, I absolutely going to respond to this person right away because they are very important. B, I'm busy right now, but I'm going to respond to them later because I know that this person's important. And then you do. C, I can't respond to this person right now, but I'm going to do it later. But then you get too busy and you forget about it. That happens a lot. And then D, I don't really want to mess with this person. I don't have the time. They're not at my level right now. I don't feel like I wouldn't have much to gain by engaging with this person, right? So it's A, B, C, D. And again, what I just mentioned is when you reach out to anybody, and you should be engaging with lots and lots of people, right? That's how business grows. Business grows through teams and collaboration. If you're trying to do everything yourself, good luck. But I can tell you right now, solo practitioners who don't do a lot of collaboration and don't believe in building big teams spend a lot of time in stagnated businesses. And stagnation sucks as an entrepreneur. So the way to break out is you got to get a lot of people working together in one concentrated effort. And you do that through collaboration with other partners and, trying to build a big team. And that's how it gets done. There's ways you could, kind of shortcut the system a little bit, maybe with social media and some clever marketing and stuff. But by and large, it's a lot easier to just delegate to other people and cooperate with other people. So
most definitely. That's the biggest challenge I have is so many people ask me for stuff, favors, free stuff. I get that a lot on Twitter. I'll get DM messages from people going, hey, can you promote this or promote that for free? And it's like, I just don't have the time. And I'll have people say, well, this is just one thing. It helps some people. I'm like, I have 5 million offers of that helping someone for free and in my inbox. And really, to be a fair person, if I say, well, I'm going to post this person's thing and ignore the other 599 other things, then why am I'm kind of showing some favoritism, and there's kind of that.
We all do. Yeah. And again, I know this sounds superficial, Chris. You have to do that. You're only one person, and so now if you had a team of people that were doing due diligence like on everybody, maybe you could I'd help more. But, again, that's not the average entrepreneur is extremely busy. Their teams are extremely busy. So how do you get through the noise? I have found, and Chris, you sounds like you do a lot of work as an influencer yourself. So the best way to work with influencers is to be an influencer yourself. And we talked about having a great website, making sure that you've got an up-to-date press kit, which basically just lets influencers and the media know, I am used to working with influencers. I am used to working with the media. Here's all my evidence, and here's how to make your job really, really easy when we engage. As a member of the media, that's one of the first things I look for. I'm like, give me the executive summary. And if they don't have it, I'm like, I just don't think that you're ready for our work together. So website is number one. Number two would be your Google search results. So if somebody does a Google search for you, that's why I said you could search my name right now and I can tell you exactly what you're going to find. And the reason why Google has nice things to say about me is because I believe in serving audiences, and I do it as often as I can. And I work with amazing bloggers and digital news people, and I'm constantly finding ways that I can bring value. No, I don't ask for links back. No, I don't ask for conditions. I just serve that audience. And if you do that, Google will naturally reward you. So, and I know what I just shared there probably scared some people. Wait a minute. Why would I guest blog for somebody and not demand links back? I'll tell you why you don't demand links back, because that's why they ignore you. If instead you reach out to influencers and you say, look, I don't need anything in return. I just love the content that you do. I'm a fan. I've been watching now for about 4 weeks and you got me hooked. And I happen to be an expert in this one very specific area. And it would be my dream to be of service to your audience. I don't need any links. I don't need any promotion. It would just be my honor to give back in some way. Now, compare that to, I would like to guest blog on your blog, and all I ask for is 1 link, 2 follow links back, and promote me on social media. Excuse my language, but who the hell are you? You don't go to an influencer. And could you imagine, Chris? And you get this all the time. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, please stop with that. They're playing the numbers game. It's a spammy technique and it doesn't work. So one of our core values is human connection. It's you give, you serve, you provide value first. And you know what a professional is going to do? Eventually, they will reciprocate, but you have to give them the space to reciprocate. You can't ask for it on a first date. It's just inappropriate.
Yeah, I get that all the time where people come to me and they go, hey, that 500,000 audience you got there, I think we should work together. And I've got an idea and we can, make $1 gazillion. And I'm like, well, how big is your audience? And then it's minuscule or non-existent. And I'm like, what do I need you for?
Yeah. And Chris, it's very important that as we're talking this, I don't want to seem like I'm coming across as heartless. I'm just trying to kind of rip open the Band-Aid so you can kind of see how this works, and we can clean this up and get this taken care of so that you can get yeses. I just want to save you from rejection, and I want to save you from stagnation and just that feeling that nobody wants to do anything with you. And I want you to get to that point. And again, I want you to become an influencer yourself. And so the third area, Chris, I talk about, of course, is social media. And in the B2B world, the 2 most important social media platforms right now would be LinkedIn for establishing your authority, and then Twitter, which is incredibly, even if you don't like Twitter as a social media platform, just use it as a tool to communicate your authority and use it as a communications tool to reach out to anybody you like. And you know what? If you happen to put some content in rotation that serves your audience, don't let that stop you. I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And you mentioned something earlier about making sure your stuff is up to date. I'll share a story. We're working on a project right now for an upcoming event, and in working with the company, they're like, well, here's some of the influencers that tell us they're influencers, and here's who we're thinking about having on the panels and stuff. And so I remember looking at one person's and this is what I do as an influencer. I know what influencers look like. I know what they smell like. I know how to look at their audiences. And so I Googled the person, and all I found were a couple videos from 2008, 2014, I think there was one, and really bad old videos, of course. Then they look awful because they're, 2008 digitized, whatever, I don't know what a 360p video back then. So they look awful in today's world when you watch them on a 1080p screen or 4K for that matter. They must look really bad. And it was just awful. I mean, this poor influencer who claimed to be influential just had all this old, bad, outdated garbage links. And I couldn't find any fresh new material for them online. And I was like, And I said, we need to reject this person because it does turn out that they work at a VC firm. And so they're kind of influential, but they're really not when it comes down to it. Just because you can loan me money doesn't make you influential.
Right.
Maybe you're influential to people who are begging for money, I suppose. But the fact that no one else on the planet knows who the hell you are, and neither does Google.
Yeah, let me talk about that for a second, because that's a big thing. So Chris, if you and I mean, we're doing pretty good here on video. Live video is pretty powerful, but like if you and I were to go and like grab dinner together and just start talking about business, and you share with me your wisdom, I share with you my wisdom. I mean, there's so much that you and I are going to pick up on from each other. Like I'm going to feel your energy. Like I'm going to feel your confidence. I'm just going to pick up so much by just looking at how you carry yourself and how you speak, your enthusiasm, your confidence, your passion for what you do. And that's going to really inspire me to want to find a way to, man, how can I do something with this guy? That's why I love going to conferences and connecting with other people, is because you can get a lot done in person. But here's the thing. Most business that we do today, of course, is over the web. And they're probably not going to, your audience is probably not going to have the opportunity to spend a lot of one-on-one time with you, either in person or even in video. Like it's just not practical unless you're doing really high ticket sales or something like that. So what do? Well, you have what is a digital barrier, right? Between the real you and the internet and the other person. The internet is that digital barrier. So what our job and what your job as a business owner is to lower that barrier, is to be as transparent and authentic and connect with that audience. If you have something like bad photography on your website and there are no pictures of you because you're scared to show your face on your website or something like that, look, I'm not saying you're not going to do any business, but it's going to hurt your business. You're losing money because you're not willing to invest a couple $100s in a really great photographer who can make a big, big, big difference. And
I see that with a lot of women too. I see that on Facebook. And a lot of places where a lot of women don't want to either show their faces because they're concerned about their age or being judged about their age. I'll see people that I've had people on the podcast where I've looked at all their photos that they have on social media when we invite them to the podcast, and they show up on the podcast. And I'm like, okay, that's a toy. You're the same person we invited.
Yeah.
And listen, honestly, seriously, look at this face. Yeah. If people can buy this face and do business with it, the rest of the world, you're going to be fine.
Both, my friend.
Just freaking fine.
I totally get the privacy thing, and and I get maybe not necessarily wanting to share everything with the world, but you're going to have to, control in a controlled fashion. Just make sure that whatever you share is the absolute best. If you only have like one video, go ahead and invest some money and hire the videographer who's going to do a really, really great job, so that people walk away with, well, there's not a whole lot of content about them, but the thing that I have seen, holy cow, they seem like a great person. They seem, I just feel a connection with them. Well, why do they feel connection with you? It's because the digital barrier is very, very low. You've really put some effort into having great design on your site and great content and great thought. And, you write great content for your blog, or you produce audio or video content in a way that people can really connect with you. So I don't want to force someone to do something that they're entirely uncomfortable with, but I'm just saying the more you can do, the better. And even if you're only willing to do a little bit, do it very, very well.
Yeah. And people have to realize, you were talking about how people can get in with influencers to get influencers' attention. People have to realize, as influencers, we're pretty community driven with each other. And that's how I think we all kind of became influencers. We banded together and worked together, but we didn't do it by trying to demand stuff out of each other from the beginning. We did it by doing favors, by building relationships, by sharing content, by sharing other people's content, like I'm sharing your stuff now. Yeah. If you look at all the lists that I'm on, from the Forbes top 50 social media influencers to One of the recent one was I'm one of the most top retweet. I think the top 25 retweeted. I'm a social media influencer of influencers. Basically, they found that most social media influencers actually retweet my stuff and are active in my stuff. And we do have our own little kind of clubbish, sort of cliquish community that we have on Facebook and in private channels and stuff, where most of those people you see me on lists with, whether it's Forbes or everything else, you'll kind of notice all of us are sort of all on the same list. And part of it is from that communal aspect where we all kind of work together. I mean, when I do projects, like we're going to South by Southwest here soon, we're working with sponsors. When I do projects, I'm calling up my friends and pulling favors. And of course, when they do their projects with their clients, they call me up and pull favors. And that's part of one of the things that you got to do to get into this system of being an influencer, is be able to build those communities, build those relationships long term, and be able to do stuff for free. I've done a lot of free stuff for my friends that, you know, and I don't pull the favor card back unless I really want a really good favor card. But like I say, when I publish my first book and I need to, and I need some stuff written, like the forward and stuff, the dedication or whatever, I'm pulling some cards.
Great. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, you know, so influencers, I mean, do joint ventures with one another all the time. And why do they do that? Because, you know, I'm going to do this campaign for you. You're going to do a campaign for me, and we're both going to have 6-figure launches. That's awesome. So now it's frustrating if someone's listening to this, they're probably thinking, well, hey, yay for them. You know, I'm not yet in that club. And so they might be asking, well, how do I get in that club? And you get in that club, there's a couple of ways. And, you know, number one is, you know, you can grow your own audience on social media and just really, you know, just really earn your stripes. It's not going to happen overnight. It's probably going to take a year or two. It doesn't have to, you know, especially if you have access to good help who can kind of guide you along that process. But the other way that you can do that is something, you know, I kind of alluded to earlier when I talked about, you know, how to connect with produce. And so there's, you know, one movie that I really loved. It was Finding Dory, which was the sequel to Finding Nemo. And I loved it because there was just these characters were just so goofy. And one of the characters in there was Gerald the sea lion. And so Gerald is just this extremely awkward sea lion. He's got these eyebrows that go like this. And if you've seen the movie, you know who I'm talking about. And these other sea lions are always kind of mean to him, and they never want to let him on the rock. And Gerald's sole purpose in life is to get on the rock with the cool sea lions. So how can he do it? Well, he tries to go on, and they bark at him, and they bark him back off. You're not worthy. You're not ready to be on the rock. And so there's one time, however, when they say, "Oh, Gerald, would you like to come on the rock?" And so they ask Gerald to go and fetch a bucket. And so Gerald does an act of service. And so he goes and he fetches this red bucket, and they let him on the rock. Now these sea lions are jerks, and ultimately they end up barking him off again. But there's a clue here. And that is that one of the best ways, you know, it's this law of association, right? That Jim Rohn talks about, I believe. And so you are the combined average of the 5 people you hang around with most. And if you want to up your average, you have to understand that most successful people understand this principle. So if you want to get into their 5, and you want to get into their 5, but you don't necessarily have the audience that they do, well, you can get there through service. So you do something good for them. You serve them. Maybe you join their mastermind. Maybe you pay them for services. You find a way that you can bring them value. And all of a sudden, they do let you in there into that circle. Because you know what? And you might be thinking, well, that's not fair. Look, how do you think they got where they are? They did the exact same thing. They had mentors, and that's how they got up above. So anyway, it's the process. This is the process that works. So go and serve and bring value, and, you know, share your purpose with the world, and, you know, bring along your values, and do good, bring value to people, and help other people to experience abundance. And you can't help but experience abundance yourself.
And building relationship is important. I remember, and I think you have to identify real influencers as well, or maybe I don't know, maybe you need to identify people at your level and then interact with them and then build up from there. I don't know if that really works. For me, what I did was I targeted people that I saw that were huge influencers, that were very social, and I started interacting with them and I started building relationships with them. And they weren't born overnight. Like you say, I mean, some people send you a email and they're demand that, hey, let's be friends now and let's do something now. And the person has no investment or emotional or intellectual investment in what you're doing. And they're just going, who the hell is this person? I remember years ago, there was somebody that I saw who was a leader in my field, and I wanted to get to know them better and get involved in them better. And one time they invited people to call them. So I called them up and introduced myself, started talking to them. Of course, they never remembered who I was, but we had an interesting discussion at least. And over that time, I started going to their Facebook. I started making comments. I started talking to them in the comments. I started talking to them privately, sending them emails, and not really demanding anything, but building a relationship. And I remember a year or so in, I called them up one day, and I said, I pitched them building a podcast with me together, because the podcast they were doing with 3 other people were just, it was the most insane sleeper fest you've ever seen. And it was just a horror show of production. But it was their old friends, so they were happy with it. But I was trying to get them to come on a new venture with me for a podcast, joint podcast. And they blew me off right out of the water. They just, it was a total shutdown. And it stung a little bit, but that's, you put yourself out there. So instead of walking away from that and going, okay, well, I'm never going to get to know this person and I'm not good enough for them or whatever the hell was, I spent the next couple of years still working on building that relationship, integrating, getting in front of them, talking to them, and everything else. And now we're best of friends, and we've been best of friends for years. And I'm in a tight circle of probably 4 or 5 people that they are best of friends with. And so, yeah, you're right. Writing, just trying to jump into people. And, it's kind of like calling somebody else. When I see these LinkedIn emails I get and these emails that I get, it's almost kind of like trying to jump into a relationship that you'd have with your wife or a close spouse or a significant other, where they're like, hey, all of a sudden I want to be in your life and be present and be part of everything you're doing. And you're just like, what the fuck?
So, Chris, thank you so much for having me on. I actually have a hard stop I need to honor, and cool. It's been an honor to be of service and spend this time with you.
Well, thank you very much, Josh, for being on. Give us your plugs one more time as we wrap the show.
Sure. Well, you could just go to upmyinfluence.com, and you can certainly learn from me. Like I said, I do a lot of stuff completely pro bono. Right now, if you hurry, I think we need to change it. And this isn't a fake scarcity thing. With my advisors, like, Josh, you can't do that. We're giving away our $1,200 video e-course for free. It's just nice. Absolutely free. But just depending on when you watch this, it may not be free anymore. But you just, when you go to Up My Influence, you just click on product or pricing, and then you'll see the free level right there. And it is 6 hours of video on exactly step-by-step how I was able to create millions of dollars in free media.
That sounds awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, Josh, and thanks for sharing with all your great stuff. I'll let you go. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Go to iTunes, Google Play. You can download, subscribe to the podcast. Please share it. Tell your friends, neighbors, relatives. We've been really impressed with how the audience is growing. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss and also patreon.com/Chris Voss. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. You guys are a great audience. We'll see you next time.